Hello everyone, my name is Radical, and welcome to another Laydown discussion. As today, we'll be talking about the Steam Deck. Now, was revealed a few weeks, maybe even a month, by the time I'm recording this ago. However, I haven't spoke about this on my channel yet, and especially after the month-long break I've had, because this is technically pre-recorded. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there on the Steam Deck. As someone who's really into PC gaming and is hoping to expand that in the near distant future, but also because I'm a Nintendo Switch user and I wanted to give my opinion on Steam Deck, which are multiple times by now. So, without any further ado, we're just going to get right to the chase. Let's talk about it. But before we do, it'd be really, really great if you could smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, and give me a follow on Twitter. That'd be really, really kind of you. So yeah, without any further ado, let's talk about it. So the Steam Deck is a bit of a weird situation because we have a handheld PC, but also a handheld console. It's a mix between the two. And I think the best way I could describe it is if you have the Nintendo Switch and you mash that together with one of these portable PCs that have been, on the market for a good while now. And I'm not talking about laptops, I'm talking more like PC gaming devices, those types of things. Obviously, this is being made by Valve. I think you already know who Valve is. They are the owners of Steam, which is the biggest PC marketplace. Aside from the Epic Game Store, GOG, and etc. Now, I really wanted to talk about this because obviously I don't want to just focus on games all the time. I also want to talk about the hardware as well. I think this would be a great opportunity, so let's talk about it. Well, let's start off with the main thing you're going to be looking at right now, and that is the console itself. So, right off the bat, it already has a big, striking resemblance to the Nintendo Switch. And that's a given, because most devices would look like the Nintendo Switch anyway. But this one definitely gives off that vibe a lot more than what other devices would. But it also has its own flair, in a way. So let's talk about the button placements and stuff like that. Stuff that would be very important for a handheld device. So you have the analog sticks, which are which would be in the same type of position that a PlayStation controller would be, with the two analog sticks being level, just on opposite sides of the actual device. For the Y, X, A, and B buttons, they're right on the edge of the sides. However, the B button is in a little bit of a weird position here because it's kind of molding onto the side. It's a very odd button, like a button location for it. However, people like IGN, GameStop, GameSpot, not GameStop, what the fuck? But they pretty much had a go at this, and they said that the button placements feel pretty decent, actually. They said it was quite comfortable. I think as someone who, like, it's a bit weird comparison, especially nowadays. But when I was younger, I was mainly an Xbox player. But when I got my PlayStation 4, I thought that the controller would be so weird to use. But it was kind of easy to adjust to. Same goes to the Nintendo Switch controller as well. And when I got my Xbox Series S, I didn't have that same effect because I already used Xbox controllers before. However, this time, I think I'm going to have that same experience of having to get really used to the controls. And this is a bit more of a different button placement than I'm used to. Maybe even more so. Obviously, you have the home button, you have the capture button, the quick menu button, etc. like that. Speakers, they're not actually on the bottom like what the Nintendo Switch has, but they're right in front of you, which it really depends on if you prefer the speakers being a little bit more far away from you or a little bit more towards you. I'm probably someone who likes the speakers being right to me so I can get as much audio as possible. So that's something I really do like about this. It has haptic feedback. You could see that there was a line splitting between the actual case and the the grip areas. That is where the haptic feedback will be, obviously. Some people have said it's kind of like the HD rumble in the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, which while while underutilized, it does work in a lot of games. I think obviously the one that a lot of people would bring up is 1-2 Switch with the HD rumble, with the ice cubes, the gun, and stuff like that. It was honestly a really cool you know tech demo type of deal. It wasn't really more of a game; it was more of a tech demo. Um, but this will have it, and I do wonder what games will utilize it the most. Is it just for like Rumble features, or is it for something a bit more different? Are there games that do use more haptic feedback on in your Steam library? That is something I really am interested in. The next talking point is at the back of the controller. You've got your trigger buttons, which it seems that they're going to be more adaptive. I think that's what you call it. And this is what's being used in the PlayStation 5 controller, or if you want to go really back, in the GameCube controller, where the more you press the analog button, the more it detects the pressure you're putting on the button. And I guess the best way I could describe it is on the Nintendo GameCube, there was a game called Super Mario Sunshine. And when you're using the GameCube trigger buttons, the more you press the button, the more water comes out of what was his name? Out of Flood. And I think there'll probably be like a few games that use that on Steam. So I guess that's why that's there. But even still, it's a odd but nice feature. That's the best I could put it. Now, I think the main talking point a lot of people have when it comes to the button mapping and button controls and etc. like that is the two squares in the middle area of the grips. Now, these are the touchpads. Now, take your mind back to the early 2010s, mid 2010s. Valve released the Steam controllers. Now, the Steam controller was used as a way to connect to the Steam box, which was kind of their answer to Steam on a console in your living room. And the Steam controller was aimed towards people who felt uncomfortable when going from mouse and keyboard to standard controller. So, for example, let's say Doom Eternal, for example. You could probably like the mouse and keyboard setup more than a standard controller. Now, the only other middle ground that has ever been between that is the gyro aiming. But Steam, the Steam team, released the Steam controller, and it had two touchpads, one to emulate movement with a mouse for camera controls and etc. like that, and the other one for normal movement. And the Steam now the Steam controller was a bit of a of a mess. Not like build wise, it was more of just the way they marketed it, and a lot of people just did not care for it. However, that tech is coming to the Steam Deck, and it's going to be interesting to use. Definitely, I've never used something like the Steam controller before. However, I'm open-minded towards it. I really am. If it's going to be a way to play, FPSs and stuff like that more efficiently, then I am completely open to using it. However, there are some extra bits when it comes to control. So, you got all your standard button controls and stuff like that. However, you've got some extra things as well. First off, obviously you have the trackpad, or the touchpads, whatever you want to call it. But the next thing you have is gyro aiming, like we just said before. So if you don't know what gyro aiming is, it's more of a way to fine-tune your aiming. And this can be used in any FPS. A lot of examples are put towards Doom, Left 4 Dead, and etc. like that. Games that use the first-person view and stuff like that. Now, the only other console that has this as a mainstay is the Nintendo Switch. Games like Doom, for example, definitely used a lot of gyro aiming. It was a out of the box edition, which is really cool. And a lot of people said that it was superior to that, old controller gameplay style. That's the best way I could put it. However, it's also going to be a part of the Steam Deck. Now, the way they're implementing it is, of course, fine-tuning your movement, your camera movement, for example. And the way they're doing this is if you hold one of the analog buttons or even one of the touch pad buttons, then you can able to just move your Steam Deck around and it will track your aim movement. That's way better to say. And I think that's actually a smart way to, operate the gyro aiming, because it'd be quite annoying if you're on a train, for example, and let's say, a bump happens or something like that, and you just completely like lost your aim. If you know it's coming, you could literally just take your thumb off the analog stick or the trackpad, and your aim will be right there where you want it, which is really cool. I am someone who did try it, and I wasn't used to it to the point where I just kind of dropped using it entirely. However, I'm going to be open to gyro aiming. If it's going to better my enjoyment of games on a Steam Deck, then I'm going to give it a try. Now, the next edition that the Steam Deck has is the 7-inch touchscreen. Now, obviously, I think you already know what a touchscreen does. You can use your fingers or a stylus or anything like that to operate keyboards or just overall web browsing and stuff like that. Now, thankfully, the Steam Deck will have that. And I think a lot of comparisons will also be drawn towards the Nintendo Switch, and we will talk about that later. However, it's just more of a standard, really. I don't know why people would want to compare that to the Nintendo Switch. It's going to be there. I would really be surprised if a modern handheld did not have touchscreen. However, we will talk about the screen in just a moment. Now, it also comes with these when it comes to the more software side, but we're still on hardware as well. So you've got a fast storage. So there are 3 models for the Steam Deck: 64GB, the 256GB, and the 512GB model. Now, we'll get to pricing later on in the video. However, I just want to talk about the 256GB and the 512GB. These will be using SSD. Now, if you don't know what SSD means, pretty much if you download a game on an SSD, now what that means is if you download a game on an SSD, then the game will be able to the game will be able to be downloaded rather quickly, more quickly than a normal storage drive. But also, it seems that we'll also be able to do even faster load times than downloading it on a normal drive would be. For the battery life, it's going to have 7 to 8 hours of battery, depending on what game you're using or what graphics settings you're going to be using. Let's say you're going to play Controlled. If you're going to play that at top settings at 30 FPS, then you're probably going to be able to just get like 3 hours max. If you're gonna downgrade the graphics to get a higher frame rate, you could probably get an extra hour or 30 in there. For 2D games, well, actually no, for Source games, then you'll be able to probably get around, I'd say, 4 to 6 hours. And for normal 2D games like Hollow Knight or Sonic Mania, you can probably get 7 to 8 hours. For what's packed into this thing, I actually really am impressed with the battery life. It could have always been better. However, for what they're trying to go for with a cost-effective approach, I'd say they did a pretty decent job there. However, hopefully they can potentially in the future make a better model with a better battery life. However, the fact it can go up to 7 to 8 hours for even like a game like Sonic Mania, and you know, if we're gonna talk about it later with mods, that is really, really cool. There isn't any doubt about that. Now, it is also going to have support for micro SD cards. Obviously, that's going to go up to like 200 terabytes, but that's if you want to pay a lot of money. I'd say, in my personal opinion, I'd probably wait until they do 500 and something gigabytes of storage at a decent price range. That is probably what I would go for until the terabyte model get cheaper. But that's just me. You can, if you want, you can splash all that money onto a 200, either a 1 or 2 terabyte micro SD card. But that's really up to you. Now, this is where we're going to get into the more tech savvy side of this. Now, there are other details that I'm going to completely gloss over in this video. However, I will link the website in the description for you to check out on your own time. It is definitely worth a look, really. But let's talk about what I'm personally excited about when it comes to this. Obviously, the menus and stuff like that, it gives you the impression that this is just a console. It is using a Steam OS 3.0, which is pretty much an updated big picture mode, which is on the normal Steam. Keep in mind that it is a PC. At the end of the day, it is literally just a PC. Now, what could this entail? Well, if you wanted to download something like Linux or Windows, you just can. It is completely it's completely up to you if you want to do that. However, it is completely possible. Now, this leads to some really interesting possibilities when it comes to the Steam Deck. First off, mod support. Because it's pretty much just a PC, you could just download the Steam, and you could mod the game like any other system. And because it is already a beefy machine, just compact, you're probably going to get the same, maybe even a better experience depending on what computer you have. So the best way I could see this going is Sonic Adventure DX on Steam is garbage, technical wise, but also due to graphics wise and stuff like that. Now, the fans have pretty much made mods like the better SADX mod or the Dreamcast conversion mod. You could download all that and its mod launcher and literally the whole shabam and play the definitive version of Sonic Adventure on the go. Something that I don't even think Sega would try to attempt is they did that for the Nintendo Switch. They'd probably just port over Adventure DX. This includes widescreen, new playable characters for mods, stage mods, all sorts, really. And it's really impressive that you could just do this on the go. Games like, again, sorry for the amount of Sonic comparisons that are going to be made. Sonic R, for example, which is not even on Steam, and is only available by using the Sonic R updater. You could technically get this working on the Steam Deck, even though it has no CD drive for you to use. Why is this possible? Well, let's just say you do have a computer with a CD drive. Install the game on your normal computer, then get all the mods ready, then just transfer it all onto the Steam Deck. When you use the Sonic R uploader, whatever it is, it doesn't even require the need of the original CD-ROM. It doesn't need that anymore. Properly updated it. So you can play that on the go as well. And this really is big in a lot of ways. For example, they've even said that third-party apps, which pretty much means Epic Game Store and GOG, will be available on this by downloading it through something like Windows. So games that are exclusive to them, like Jazz Jack Rabbit 1, 2, or exclusives on Epic Game Store, could be played on the Steam Deck on the go. and that is really cool. I know a lot of people like having their library all bunched together on Steam. However, I think it's just worth biting the bullet just to get something that's exclusive on another platform, just for the opportunity to play it on the go with Steam Deck. Now, there's also the conversation of emulation, which is really interesting, in my personal opinion. Obviously, you can emulate Nintendo, NES, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, GameCube, and Wii games on Nintendo emulators. Sega Mega Drive, Master System, Saturn, Dreamcast, all on their respective emulators. PlayStation and Xbox games as well. But also stuff like I don't know what the name of the 3DS emulator is, but you could play Nintendo 3DS games on this through emulation. You could play Nintendo Switch games on the Steam Deck through emulation. And what's kind of sad in a way is that it would probably be better of an experience than on the Nintendo Switch. Now, look, I absolutely love my Nintendo. It is one of the best platforms I have ever played on. I've not played much multiplayer, but single player wise, I've had so much content to enjoy. It's been really nice just collecting physical games on it. And games that I have never played before. Like, Super Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. I know, I never played Galaxy before. How could I? How could I not own a Wii? But it's been an incredible experience. And playing games like Super Mario Odyssey, Sonic Mania, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, those games on the Switch, and being able to play them on the go, it's been an incredible experience. However, I think I've gotten old enough to the point where I really wish that Nintendo just ups their game graphics wise and hardware wise. By the time this was announced, it was already a week after this. It wasn't even a week after, it was just like a day or two after the Switch OLED model was announced. And I think a lot of people got annoyed by the OLED because it wasn't the Switch Pro, which I was personally upset with because I was really looking forward to a Switch Pro. There were even Nintendo made games that just are barely running on the system, and I feel it could be a lot better. And I think I would have been more annoyed with the OLED if it wasn't for the Steam Deck. Now, obviously, there will be problems with this. There's always problems with any bit of hardware. But this is really looking to be the Switch Pro that a lot of people have been looking for. And it even connects to like monitors and stuff. Like it uses a USB, a USB slot, which can pretty much connect to like arcade fighting sticks, which I've got on screen right now and it looks completely dumb. But you can also connect it to your like monitor. And you could use a wireless mouse pad and mouse to pretty much use it as a normal computer. And what's sad is that it's probably more powerful than mine. But getting back to the point, it's just I'm really happy this is a thing. I am really, really happy. I think, and you definitely should follow me on Twitter because you'll pretty much get my live reaction when stuff drops or when stuff gets announced. I'm not always going to make a video on every single little thing, because I'm juggling video editing with art, uni, and stuff like that. But when this was announced, I was extremely pleased. Pleased enough to where I actually did reserve myself a slot to get the Steam Deck. So when this was announced, we have the price. You have the prices, and this is probably the most controversial thing about it. But I don't know. It really didn't mind me much, in all honesty. So you have three models for the Steam Deck. You have the 64 GB, the 200 and so you have three models for the Steam Deck. You have the 349 pound model with 64 GB. You have the 459 pound 256 GB model, and you have the 596 not 90, and then you have the 569 pound 512 GB model. Now, I was originally going to go for the 64 GB one because of its price, which is, I think, just £50 more than the Steam OLED, which for the amount of graphical power this has on it is definitely worth it. However, I personally went for the 256 GB version, and I did this because I would have the money for when I'm going to get mine, but also because I wouldn't have to worry too much about running out of storage real quickly. I'm probably just going to download a bunch of Sonic games in there, and they don't take much space anyway, so I'm completely fine. But if I was going to suggest this to you, I'd say get the mid-range model, because you're getting the SSD, you're getting a bigger storage, and what's nice is that each model comes with a carrying case. This really should be standard. Like, I really shouldn't have to go out and buy a case for my Nintendo Switch, something that is quite fragile, specifically about Joy-Con drift. So, yeah, mine will be coming in Q2 of 2022. Now, that's quite a long wait. However, really, I'm quite lucky to get that because I was kind of on the fence if I want to pre-order it now or just buy it when it becomes available. But I just bit the bullet now because I really am happy with this. I am really, really happy with it. And that's it, really. There's nothing really much I can talk about unless I'm going to go into the technical side, which I'll have no idea what I'm talking about. I just wanted to make a video, just my impressions on this from what I've seen, and the possibilities of what this device will have. And I know, again, there's going to be so many talks about it between the Nintendo Switch and I know they're going for different markets, but I do hope that the Steam Deck just kicks Nintendo off their ass, because I think Nintendo are getting too safe now. They're really not trying as hard as they did in 2017. But we'll just have to wait and see. So, for the comment of the day, I just want you to leave in the comments below if you're going to get it, what are your thoughts on the Steam Deck, and if you think this will be a competitor in any way towards the Nintendo Switch. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.